context, 50% of Canberra's residents want somewhere else to live. The new planning strategies talking about having 70% of new dwellings within existing urban areas, and there's very limited greenfields land available. So what that gives us is a great opportunity to respond to these demographic shifts by looking at different types of housing, looking at housing that suits people in different stages of their life, looking at housing that might work for downsizing or upsizing or ageing in place. And it provides the government with an opportunity to think and respond to this in different ways. And that's what the demonstration housing project is seeking to do. Okay. So a little bit about the demonstration housing project. There's some notes up here, but really it's about trying to develop different housing types that respond to that change. And it's also looking at how we can get density done better. So how we can get good design outcomes and good building outcomes and create that opportunity for the missing middle. So that sort of high density living without talking about massive scale apartments and things like that, and giving people opportunities to age in place in the communities that they have lived in and know and are familiar with. Right. So the Housing Choices project was done by our policy and what it did was bring together a group of 38 citizens who developed, called that collaboration hub, and they really considered the question up here that Canberra's changing and how we're going to meet the housing needs for the future. There was also an Assembly Resolution 2017, which is where the demonstration housing project was initiated, and that sort of talks about how we can look at testing new designs and innovation and delivering models and develop new skills to be able to meet this need. So the Housing Collaboration Hub provided support to the demonstration housing project by helping us establish what the parameters were, what the objectives were, what the criteria was. And the idea is that the lessons that come out of the demonstration housing project will also inform the housing choices work that's happening. At the end of the presentation, we've got a link to the housing choices work, so if anyone's interested in following up, that'll be up at the end of the presentation. So, Collaboration Hub came up with some objectives that they thought would be beneficial for what we needed to look at for demonstration housing. This was also matched with the Assembly resolutions, which were excellence in design quality, looking at carbon neutral buildings, medium density infill, innovative planning and engagement, different types of housing products and typologies, close partnership with industry bodies, and also looking at public and affordable housing options. So what we were able to do was use the Collaboration Hub as a representative sample of the broader Canberra community to be able to test some of ideas and sort of stretch out those words from the Legislative Assembly. So based on the Housing Collaboration Hub's input, we factored into our criteria some really strong conditions around build quality and what people were going to do to give us a better build quality, what they were going to do to ensure that the garden city character was maintained, so what they do about keeping their landscaping, what they do about replacing trees if trees needed to go, making sure that they had enough green space, making sure they were addressing heat island effects so that they weren't filling up blocks with lots of hard stand, that there was really consideration of deep root zonings and good planting areas. And that where it was possible, given the block and the location and things like that, that universal design standards could be incorporated. So, this leads us to the actual demonstration housing project. So the project went out for an expression of interest last year, and it went out with two streams. For people who had a site that they really wanted to test some new ideas on, and people that didn't have a site but had a really good idea but just didn't have somewhere to put it. And we received 27 proposals overall across the whole ACT, of which 19 were selected to progress to stage 2. of those, we'll be talking tonight about one of the proposals with sites, but there were 6 that have been identified to progress to the next stage for proposals with the site. There's another 3 that are doing further work that may get through. And then there's 7 proposals that are going to come through in the future without a site. And what we're doing is working with those proponents to try and identify suitable sites for them to work with. So what we've got here is the type of, there's a really wide range of things that came through from the demonstration housing project. So the development models included things like co-housing, institutional land investors, land developers, community housing providers, just people who had a house on their block that wanted to do something different with it so they could age in place. The types of housing that came through were things like secondary dwellings, dual occupancy townhouses, and multi-dwelling housing, so for multi-family dwellings. And we've got owner-led, design-led, developer-led type of approaches. We've got some affordable ones, some where public and community housing are partnering, some where they're looking at build to rent and ageing in place. We've got some ethical investor models coming through, some traditional lender models, people with shared facilities, and also all of the proponents are really looking at improved environmental performance for their projects. So this is where we're up to now. We have evaluated the proponents for the without sites, for the proposals with sites. The next step for each of those proposals, and there's a number of steps they need to go through. So they've gone through a process. We had an evaluation panel put together with the government architect with expertise in development models, with build quality, with planning rules and design. The ones that have selected to go forward are going through a process with the design review panel where they get their designs refined. The next step for them is to then engage with their communities, and this is sort of one of those steps tonight. So they start talking to their neighbours and they're talking to the local residents groups, and we're working with them to help refine their consultation plans to make sure that they're engaging with everyone they need to engage with. Following that, there's a process of developing a site-specific territory plan variation for each of the sites to accommodate some of the things that people are talking about, which may be things like being able to do additional dwellings on a block, or if you've got shared parking, do you need as many car parking spaces? Shared cars, do you need as many car parking spaces? Or do you relax the setbacks to enable something to happen? So during that territory plan variation process, there's also those other opportunities for community to have input, and then the DA process, there's also opportunities for the community to have input. Each of the proponents coming forward, and at this stage we have 2 in the inner north, each of the proponents coming forward have a different time frame, so we're really working with them on their time frame and when they're ready to meet with groups and when they're ready to go to the design review panel. So it's not us leading that process, it's really each of the proponents leading that process, and that's why one of the reasons why we also have individual territory plan variation, so that we can sort of work along with their own time frame. And I think that might be, that's the links that we talked about, but that's essentially the outline of the demonstration housing project. Does anyone have any questions?
Is this an ongoing project? Can one still join?
No.
Why not?
Because it's an initiative to test some ideas in the first instance. I mean, who knows if down the track there might be an opportunity to run it again if it's successful. But it's been a really interesting process to develop a process that works for this kind of approach and to test out different ideas. But at this stage, it's a one-off.
Once you've got these built, is the purpose of it to establish different types of housing types that you would then utilise more fully, or are all these just one-offs?
So if they're successful and they work really well, and that's what we're testing, the idea would be that they would be able to be repeatable. Yeah. So it's a really good opportunity to sort of test all the things that we think might work and to see what the outcomes are. So that if they work really successfully, yes, the objective will be to make it repeatable.
So, if I understood that correctly, that would mean, for example, if you have a zoning which would usually not allow occupancy or so, that can be relaxed. Is that what is proposed?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it depends on the proposal, but yes.
Would that then mean that for this kind of projects there is a change of character plan needed?
Yes.
A second question, you were talking about the setback. So usually, if that is that the setback, usually you have to stay
A certain distance from the boundary.
Yeah.
So it would be, if the proposal works really well and gets a really good outcome and you meet all the other objectives, but you need to encroach on the setback a little bit, is that something that's acceptable? Is the outcome worth that change?
Yeah. I mean, often the setbacks are important because they sort of are part of the whole streetscape.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just was wondering if then one is putting a house further, that would destroy the whole streetscape.
So that's one of the things that's being evaluated. Does it fit within the streetscape? If what you're proposing to do may need to encroach a little bit on the setbacks, but does that have an impact on the streetscape, or does it have an impact on the neighbours?
It's back to the first question. I'm a bit afraid that if, for example, in a zoning area where only one dwelling is allowed by territory plan, and so this demonstration is then coming with a dual occupancy, is that not opening the door to a whole change? So from behind.
Well, at this stage, there's only 6 projects that are proceeding, and the idea is to
but
really
they are
investigate.
demonstration.
Yeah, that's right. To really investigate the idea. So what it might do is to say that in some instances that might be okay, but these are all the parameters around making it okay, or these are the situations where it would be okay, and these are the ones where it wouldn't. So it's meant to help inform that. If it became embedded in the territory plan, then that would be a whole other process as well. So it's not like this one project then informs the territory plan change for that whole suburb.
What is the purpose of the community engagement?
Well, each of these projects are within people's local neighbourhood, so it's around getting input and feedback and helping inform the design, and before we get to the territory plan stage, understanding what the issues are and what we can change and improve to make it even better.
So it's still flexible at that point.
Are these projects visible somewhere on the website?
So they're on our website. So that top link, the 6 projects that are through so far are on our website. Obviously, in a moment, you're going to hear about the first project that's undertaking their community engagement. They're our fastest.
Trying to be fast.
Any other questions? I might let Ian answer on this project.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk about our project, and we have a model, we have some handouts later, we have people to take questions. I'm just going to do a brief explanation of what our project is. Really, first of all, I just want to explain who we are. So my name's Ian Ross. I've lived in North Canberra I grew up as a teenager in Hackett. I've been living in Ainslie for 30 years. My partner's Joss and Trish are up the back here. So we've been friends for 30 years. We raised our kids together. They live in Downer. And we've got to an age where we're thinking, okay, we want to stay in our neighbourhood, we want to downsize. Like a lot of people, we're living in big houses that we don't really need. Well, my son came back and he's living there with his girlfriend, but I want to throw them out. And I want to have a smaller place to look after, but I don't want to move into an apartment. I want to have some garden space. Joss and Trish and I have been talking together and with other people for a long time about the idea of, well, what would retirement in our area look like? How could we set up a situation where we can be with our friends? Lots of people talk about this. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we can settle down with our friends and retire together and keep an eye on each other and look after each other's cats when we go travelling or whatever it is, but it's very hard to organise. So we were quite lucky in a few different ways. One is this demonstration housing project came up, which said, okay, if you convince us that this is a good idea, we will do our best to get whatever small number of rules you want changed just for your block of land, so that you can demonstrate that it is a good idea to the entire community, and then we'll decide, or the community will decide, whether some of those rules will be embedded in ongoing changes to the plan. So it's not up to us to decide what's going to be ongoing, it's just up to us to explain what to do. Sitting next to Joss and Trish up at the back is our architect, Brett Lowe, fantastic architect, highly recommended. And he's helped us work on this block in Ainslie, which is in Angus Street. And it's a co-housing idea, so it means that those of us who live there have our own separate units, but we've also got shared resources. Now, if you've had anything to do with co-housing, you'll know that most co-housing places are like 20 to 30 units, because then it makes it worthwhile to have that overhead of the shared resources. There's only 3 units, so our shared resources are fairly expensive per unit, so it's not for everybody. Co-housing isn't for everybody. Some people are happy to stay in the big houses, but for us, it really works. So, let me just explain where I'm talking about. So this is Northbourne Avenue over here. That's the MacArthur Avenue tram stop. This is Wakefield, going up to Ainslie Shops up here. So Madura, Limestone. This is Angus Street here. And our block is this one here, number 24 Angus Street. So it's right across from the Allen Ray Oval, the big oval behind the Ainslie Footy Club. Most of the buildings in here are just single dwellings, but you'll see there are a lot of units down there on the corner of Limestone. There's also a multi-unit, I think it's a retirement place here, and there's some dual occupancies in the area. But it's mostly single residential. This is zoomed in a little bit. The blue is the Footy Club, just to get your bearings. Again, you can see where the dual occupancies are, and the rest is single, and that's ours here. The block sizes there are about a quarter acre. So ours is 49 metres by 22 metres. And it's great because the long side is the north facing, so we've got really great solar access for the passive solar. So this is just a green version of the same thing. So this is our block here. It's got an old token wall on it at the moment that we're renting out until we go through all these process we've been asked to go through, which is fair enough. We're asking to do something that isn't currently under the zoning rules for this block. Some people in this area have knocked down rebuilds and they've kind of got something that looks like it's taking advantage of the north facing, and some are kind of big and squarish, and I don't think they're doing well on their block. What else do we need to say about that? Oh, Angus Street has just got houses on one side, so it's already got some multi-units in that street, so I don't think we'll be, we fit into the street really well. Actually, I'll just point out the model. So basically, this is the front of Angus Street here, and so from the street it just looks like pretty much the one building. The units are at the back, so these are our 3 units. And just to explain, Joss and Trish will live in one unit, I'll live in another unit. If anybody's interested in buying into this proposal, come and talk to us. Thank you, Jane. This was done, this is an early study model just to help us think about what to do. Brett put it together to help us work out what to do. So it's a little bit different. The current plan is to have this a little bit taller. There's a couple of other slight differences. Basically, you're walking along this side passage on this pathway on the southern edge to get into the units. There's courtyards for each of the units, and there's about 8 metres of garden in front of the units on the north side. All very solar passive. I'll explain a bit about the roof and the sustainability soon. We've only got 2 car parking spaces, so basically the 2 territory rules we're asking them to change is 3 dwellings instead of the normal 1, or if you've got a dual lot 2, and only having 2 car parking spaces, because normally with 3 dwellings you'd expect 3 covered car parks and 2 uncovered, but we're sharing a whole lot of things in this development. It's a co-housing. So we've only got 2 vehicles, they'll be electric vehicles. There's photovoltaic cells across here. I'll talk about that in a minute. I better keep going or we're going to run out of time. On the plan, so here's the street. Walk along here, come into the courtyard, go around the back to where the bicycle shed, the compost, the clothesline. This is all garden space, but the green is the garden. The other part is like you come out of your unit and got your coffee table under a bit of a shade structure. We haven't quite worked out what it's going to look like. So the front part is our shared unit. We're calling it a main house. Our company name is Stellulata. So we just set up a company to do the design and the construction and to manage it. Because in a co-housing environment, you don't want to just sell to anybody. You want people you're happy with. So we have to set up sort of company rules on how to control it. So in the main house, we've got the garage on this side. It's set up so you don't have to, you can always drive forward into the, out of the unit. There's some utilities here. We're sharing a freezer, washing machine, storage, utility bench, sink, and then we're sharing sort of a lounge with a fireplace, a kitchen, dining, going out onto the patio with a barbecue, and also a bathroom, shower, toilet. But in our own unit, we've also got the usual 2-bedroom unit. These units are about 10 by 10 metres, so there's about 100 square metres in each of those. So our plot ratio is 40%. Now normally on a RZ1 block, a single dwelling's entitled to take up 50% of the block. We're only taking up 40%. So I think we're doing pretty well, even though we've gone to a higher density. We've also got an upstairs loft here, which we were originally thinking of as storage, but we're thinking maybe the grandkids can sleep up there at Christmas, so they'll back down at the top. So there's quite a bit of shared space. We expect we'll use it together, we'll eat together quite a lot. This is the roof. This is the photovoltaic cells here. You'll see that basically this part of the roof is fairly flat on each side. This is at 30 degrees facing north for the solar panels, and then it drops back to 60 degrees at the back. We've got skylights, or really windows, openable windows, so we can open at night, vent the heat out in summer's nights. The batteries for all the power is in the garage, run with cars, and also the hydronic in-slab heating and the hot water heat pump. Let's see what we got. This is a study that Brett did just looking at the solar passive, the angles of the sun. So in wintertime, low sun comes right in, hits the slab, heats things up inside. We shouldn't need too much heating at all. And then in summertime, when the sun is high, 10 a.m. in January, February, it doesn't come in at all. So this is the garden space to the north. This is the living area, bathroom in the middle, kitchen at the back, courtyard, and then the walkway, and then the southern boundary. We got time there. Just to give you a sense of what we're thinking of for the brickwork, fairly pastel shades for the bricks, something a bit darker on the gutters, and the fascias, some timber in parts. We haven't made final decisions with that sort of thing we're talking about. A bit hard to see here, but this is a picture of the street with our house penciled in the centre. So it's a little bit tall, perhaps on the same height as these neighbours, and taller than this. So it's with the loft, it's kind of 2-storey at the front, just at that peak area. So we think it fits in pretty well. This is just a shadow diagram. This is longest shadows, middle of June at 3 p.m. The southern neighbours really only got the fence shading, so we're well inside the solar envelope for shading neighbours. I think that's most of what I want to say. Trish, you want to hand out those papers? We've put together a draft question and answers, frequently asked questions. Nobody's asking any questions yet, but we're going to talk to the Ainslie neighbours soon, and we thought, well, I'll try it out with you guys. If there's anything you think we haven't said there, that we should say, any corrections. There's also a second piece of paper, which is a feedback, also a contacts for us. If you want to join our mailing list, so you know what we're doing. If you want to give us feedback, suggestions, So basically, the community engagement from our point of view is, one, is there anything we've missed, something we haven't got right, something we can improve on, or if you want to join us, let us know. But then also, you get a chance to feedback comments now, and because we've got to go through the DA process and the territory plan variation process, you've got 2 more chances to complain to us or to somebody else about what you like or don't like. If you do like it, as a new submission to any of those, would be very welcome. I think I might stop talking and say, are there any questions at this point? Right.
Have you considered putting the cars underground?
Brett, do you want to comment on that?
I don't think it would be a cost-effective solution here. You would take up valuable earth space for ramps and so on. It would be a lot more expensive. There's no value for 3 dwellings on this site to then go underground with the car parking and also divide the site with ramp systems that would be required.
Ram system, that's okay, but it would also give you a chance to have an underground water tank.
But
Oh,
we-
I'm sorry,
we have
I didn't
we
mention
have
the
an
water tank.
underground water tank.
Damn, I should have mentioned the water tank. So, just there is a 65,000 litre underground
Okay.
water tank. And we've got big open gutters on all the surfaces to capture water. I mean, that's for using on the gutter. Somebody else had a question? Yes.
So, how have you found working with the Boffins on this? What's been the process and how have you found it personally?
We have just been working with Brett, who is an excellent boffin.
Oh.
And it's really, you know, when we wanted it to be a collaborative development where Joss and Trish and I, and so I hope we have a third party right now, but I understand people when you see how we went first. We've worked really well together, we worked really well with Brett, we've tossed ideas around, we've all come in with slightly different views on what to do, we have a lot of commonality, and we're really happy with how it's all worked. As far as working with the demonstration housing people go, that's been fine. You know, they've got their process to try and encourage lots of people to come up with ideas. We've come up with ours. They liked it. Fine.
That process has gone well, as far as
Yes, yeah, it has. I mean, you know, when you're dealing with changing territory plan rules, everybody's nervous, so of course it's going to take time. But yeah, so far so good. There's another question up here? Yes.
Yeah. In your main house, I think you call it, the one at the front, are you finally designing that for, given that I assume you're interested in neighbouring friends,
Yes.
with the option that could be somewhere where, like a carer could...
We had thought about that, and it certainly is an option, although, and I'm sorry, I had so many things I could have said, it's on the sheet. We have got, we're trying for platinum standard deliverability rules. So, for example, the front bedroom is fully wheelchair accessible, and all of this area is platinum standard, or we're aiming for it to be that. And the bathroom area here is as well. The back bedroom is a bit smaller. The bathroom in the main house is not. Yes, we thought about a carer. 2 thoughts about that, why we think it might not happen that way. One is, there's the back bedroom and the front bedroom. So if you've got a single person there, or even if you've got 2, you know, you may well have a carer staying over in the back bedroom. Secondly, a lot of things are, you get people coming in to care for you and not staying overnight. But you're right, the front building could also be used for that purpose. Yes?
I'm Joss, one of the proponents. I just wanted to add to the answer that the common house can also be used for community, like we all are part of book clubs and things like that, but if neighbors want to use it, because there'll be a nice big meeting space and indoor-outdoor kitchen, we would make that available to whoever wanted to use it. And there was one other point that I thought I wanted to raise, but it's escaped me, but I might come back.
Carers aging in place?
That was always an idea, but you expressed that well as to how that might play out.
Part of it also was, even though we're thinking of aging in place, was to design it so it didn't have to be about aging in place. A younger couple or something like that, or someone with a disability who needs
I remember the point, there's no steps.
Mhm.
So you're outside, you're going in anywhere, in, out, through, there's no steps.
If you pick this up and put it in an RZ2 zone, would it be as difficult to get the approvals or easier?
RZ2 zone. Given the size of the development we had, there's no way we could afford to compete in the RZ2 to do 3 small units like this.
Assuming that funding is a problem with this design, that would be sure.
I can't see why it wouldn't go in RZ2.
Yeah.
Brett, any comments?
Well, it depends on the site and how the site's configured and so on, the orientation. There's a lot of factors involved in designing the building. This is an ideal site. It's very good for a demonstration of good passive solar design and good build quality, good landscape, gardenscape, development of garden city principles, and part of. So you'd have to look at the individual site to make an assessment and evaluate how well it could be transported. But the concept behind it, the underlying principles that determine the actual design in the end can be applied regardless, but the configuration may be quite different on another site.
And we felt that RZ2, the demonstration housing people could tell you there's some proponents or some proposals of larger co-housing groups that might be more suitable. 85% of Canberra housing is in RZ1. And we've spoken to a lot of people who are at the same stage of life as us and interested in the same sort of idea. So we thought if we could model something in the RZ1 zone that might have some broader utility.
And also on that matter as well, if you had, say, 2 blocks next door to each other, the common shared facility could cope with all of those. So you could have 4 dwellings on the adjacent block, still keeping, if it was the next door block, 8 metres landscape zone, and have all those characteristics that are really desirable, and maintain individual gardenscapes for each of the dwellings, but also have a greater benefit for the Canberra established suburb.
In the maps you showed, there was just a few blocks on a huge McMansion. So what is actually the problem you have with development applications or whatever compared to that McMansion?
Well, that's what we say. We could build a big ugly thing legitimately on an RZ1 zone. Some of those, I don't know if anybody's put one of those black boxes around here, but I hate them. Whereas what we're saying is we can go to 3 dwellings, and we've got better than just 2-bedroom units. We've got this shared resource which we're happy to share with each other and with our community, our neighbours and our friends. And we're only using 40% of the land, and so we would hope everybody would say, great idea. Now, defining exactly how you would generalise this to RZ1, generally, not my job to work it out, because you have to think about, well, who is allowed to do this? What are the limits? Does it have to be a co-housing arrangement before you let this happen? Is it just about you have to have a certain area, size ratio? I don't know how you would generalise it. We're just saying, well, we think this works. We think the 2 rules that we want to break, I think there's only 2 we're breaking. They are, we only want 2 parking spaces. I know everyone's worried about too many cars, but we're sharing ours. We don't think it'll be a problem. And we think actually in the future, a lot of people will share. And the second thing is, we want to put 3 dwellings on it. And at the moment, you're only allowed to put 1, or if you dual-lock, 2. So, do you think those are the 2 rules we're asking to break? Yes?
I might have missed it in the original plan, but how do you get from point A to point B?
Within the site?
Yes.
Good question. The expert architects asked us that the other day, and we've just been rethinking things to see if we can improve it. So, basically, there are, on this plan, there are 3 entrances. We're still debating whether to cut back to 2. Originally, we were thinking we'd have a front door here into the common area. We're tossing up not using that because it is a bit confusing when the guy comes to deliver a parcel. You know, they'll come to this door and there just happens to be nobody in the front building at the time. You know, somebody's up the back. So the other two entrances are along here, where you walk into your separate units, and in here, where you go through the utility area into the main house. So those are the two areas. So we're thinking maybe just having these two ways in, and you know, you'd buzz to well, if you knew your way in, and you're not sure what security will have to get. But,
So they'll be covered for all weathers?
that's a good question. We've been debating that as well. At the moment, we are not covered coming down here. We're toying with that possibility for the future. There's covering over part of this court area. So if you wanted to go out, so this is all glass along here. So two doors coming out here into this area. So you'd be going uncovered to there, or uncovered to see the neighbours, or uncovered here. That is true. So that is an issue we are considering.
On the south, we could introduce covered space, but there's also costs involved. It can be done at a later stage and designed in. But on the north face, we don't want to have covered area there because we want to make the maximum use of having this great site and having passage somewhere.
The south outside is nice in summer because it's cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is why we think those courtyards on the southern side will be excellent.
And also the courtyards on the southern side will reflect light, sunlight back into the south side of the units too.
Yeah, so here as the sun comes in winter, it'll hit the brick wall on the edge of the walkway and reflect back into that courtyard.
But that looks on as if there was a roof extending on the south side.
So this roof only covers part of the courtyard, but we're talking about whether walking up the side pathway, it's not covered.
And also that was a study, and we've since dropped that southern ceiling and roof plane over the south side to allow more sun. You can see on that
So
study.
all of these things are preliminary.
Yeah, maybe wrap up the next one.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, we've gone on far too long. If you've got any questions, please contact us. If you want to have a look at the model, actually no, we won't be staying too long tonight. I haven't seen these guys in 3 months, they just got back from travelling. But yes, if anybody got any comments or interest, if you want to fill out the form straight away and give it to us, that would be great. We'll be able to back to us.
Yeah, and then it's 8 minutes.
Well, we want to hear James talk. So.
Some